see you all here today, and I've waited 2 years to say that, so that's quite a long time. You saw a video of Simon Woodruff there from Yo Sushi, and I've been watching that on and off for the last couple of years, and I think there's some really important things that we can draw out of that video. First of all, loving what we're doing. I think that's so important to a business. Employing people that are doing what they like and setting them free. And I think that's incredibly important too. And wanting to be there. And I think we see that so often with so many of the people that work for us. So some really salient points in that video, and I think we'll come back to some of those points as we progress through Zeta 2's presentation today. Before we do that though, I think it's well worth looking at some really important updates regarding Zeta 1 and the business as it stands now, because it's pretty impressive. 10 million test results are in Zeta Safe as of the 30th of September. That is a huge amount of data, and when you start to drill into that and look at it, you think, wow, just think how much paper we have saved. You think about how much ink we have saved, and if you think about how many hours it would take to actually enter 10 million results into a paper logbook. 10 million results. So let's assume you've got your paper logbook, and you're going to have to photocopy those bits of paper every now and again and put them back into the logbook, and you have to write them in, and occasionally you have to write a few extra notes regarding those, and you may need to follow up. So I'm being really conservative with 20 seconds per data entry. Okay, that's 57 years without a holiday, without a vacation, without Christmas, Easter, so on and so forth. 57 years of one person's life. So when you start breaking that down and taking into account they might want to sleep, etc., you can see that collectively we have saved the lives of 3 or 4 people. That is pretty impressive. And I think that's something which we should be pretty proud of. Since April of this year, 84,000 people have logged into Zeta Safe. Again, a pretty big number. 84,000 people, I wouldn't want coming through my front door, but nevertheless, that's the number that have come through the front door of Zeta 1. One report every minute. If you actually do the maths on that, that's 1,500 reports a day being generated by Zeta Safe. 1,500 reports. And it all goes on, and we're none the wiser about it. Sometimes our IT guys are. But 1,500 reports a day. We are protecting 786,000 things. 786,000 things. Let's let that number sink in. 750,000 things out there in the world are protected by us. We are saving people's lives as a consequence of that. No mean feat, but Zeta is global. Okay? Our influence extends way beyond this small island to North and South America, to China, to Australia, and obviously into Europe too, increasingly. That's pretty special, and especially in the current economic climate, as the UK has to make its mark in the world again. We actually export. You should be really proud that we export. Money comes into the UK from the work that you do. That improves our trade balance, and that's something really important. Just on a small scale, but nevertheless, it's something which we should be really proud of. Indeed, there's a great deal that we should be proud of. A lot of familiar names up there, but Zeta was one of the first companies to go and use the cloud, to use the internet, to use what we now call the cloud. In fact, probably it was the first software company, compliance business to use the cloud in that way. And I think we still maintain the edge. So many of these names above me you'll see as pretty common names, and ones that were perhaps only being conceived or very much in their infancy when we started selling Zeta Safe 1. I think it's fair to say that the consumer moves faster than business, and so hopefully we're just about to embark upon a very fast ride as the world of business to business follows where the consumer world has gone. So let's have a quick look at our heritage. A bit of a scary picture coming up now. For many of you, you'll see a very young, 10 years younger looking Mr. Nicol. See what you've all done to me. The very first software we had was called BioStream, built in Microsoft Access 2. I'm still convinced it was the best application to use, and I'm sticking by it because I put it together. And our very first installation was at the Queen Elizabeth II Hospital in Welwyn Garden City. So wherever we moved from, BioStream 2 was an installation which you installed on your PC. You printed off your job sheets, you went around with your clipboard, you filled in your job sheets, came back and found someone rather nice and willing to enter all those results in manually. Pretty laborious, but nevertheless a huge step forward, and one that the QE2 Hospital were prepared to spend £5,000 buying. God bless them. The reports today that we see in many of our applications are not a million miles different from back then. The same objectives are there. We did move on from BioStream though, I'm glad to say, and EnviroDAP was launched in 2001, aided and abetted by Chris Wiles, who's now our senior developer, and you all know him. But EnviroDAP was very much the forerunner for ZetaSafe that we now use. It was still PC installed, but some significant differences were that we could now put the database in a central location and have multiple people accessing it. And also it enabled us to use handheld equipment for the very first time. And so the need to dig around and find someone to enter your results was negated. We used Silence originally, if you can remember back to the old Silence system, but very quickly progressed onto the simple SPT 1800, example of which you can see behind me, much bigger than it normally is, I hasten to add. ZetaSafe was born out of necessity. Why? Well, our friends in the United States had 5 sites operating the EnviroDAP system. And as much as Chris liked going to America and me with him, it became rather difficult to support that technology out there. And so we very quickly decided that we should move on to the cloud. This is 2004, moving on to the cloud. You probably weren't using Amazon back in 2004. You certainly weren't using Google and things like that anywhere near as frequently as you are now. But in 2004, we put ZetaSafe up onto the cloud. This meant a massive change for us. Okay, what we were seeing, what we needed to do is to look at the handheld technology that had to be changed completely from what we were using before, so that we could connect the data to the internet. And we had to change the way we did reports and things like that, because the web looks at the whole thing differently. Fortunately for us, PDAs got faster, more compact, and generally smarter. ZetaSafe very quickly became the benchmark compliance technology here in the UK, and that was great to see. It was rolled out for many diverse applications. So one of our first applications was looking at buildings that were destroyed in Hurricane Katrina back in 2005, I believe that was, and also water checks at places like Skanska in Malta. So a very wide application for ZetaSafe, and that has stood us in good stead for the last few years. Wouldn't be right to do a presentation like this without coining the phrase of Steve Jobs, the year of copycats. Well, we've had 5 years of copycats. We've had many companies that have tried to emulate what we do, though we're doing it rather badly on the whole. I think the key to that is because we're not particularly precious about their data in so much as who looks after it and who owns it. We're quite happy to transfer people's data from one service provider to another, as long as the right checks and balances are in place. So many of our competitors and systems that have come out and about and competed with us haven't allowed people to do that. So we have news for these copycats and the people trying to emulate us, and that is Zeta 2 is now here. So let's have a look at Zeta 2. Let's have a look at what we've learned, and let's have a look at what we've improved. And it's quite significant. It's difficult, really, to overstate this. It is completely new. Completely new. It's not slightly new. It's not slightly tweaked. It is completely different in every way, shape or form. This is a massive step change that's taken 2 years to build and a lot of hard work. So you should be really proud in what we've done. And for the very first time, Zeta as a business pretty much owns all of its intellectual property, which is a massive step forward for us. Gives us great flexibility moving forward. So it's an all-new design. It's pretty beautiful. I think it's beautiful. If you could say software is beautiful, then that's probably beautiful. Looks fantastic on some of the latest equipment and hardware. And I think they've done a splendid job on the graphics there. It is faster, much, much faster. This is a Java-based program, okay? So it's the sort of thing you're used to seeing these days on websites, etc. Making use of the latest database formats, PostgreSQL, SQL, and we've reduced the number of clicks to access your data, so the information is so much more available. We have kept some of the legendary Zeta 1 versatility, but simplified the navigation. So we have a flexible, configurable dashboard with widgets on it. We have a breadcrumb trail so you can quickly go back to where you were before. We've made use of tablets, we've made use of tabs, and we've made use of screen switches, it's difficult to say. Trending graphical interpretation results is much improved and actually occurs on the same page as your information. We have a brand new system menu. We've also introduced the concept of channels, which I'll talk about in a moment. Zeta 2 bases its reporting on live interactive dashboards, okay? Many of which can be exported to familiar spreadsheet format. So unlike Zeta 1, where on the whole you're restricted to a single view of a compliance scheme, so you're looking at the water systems or the asbestos systems or the electrical systems, here we can look at all those brought together. Based upon the filters that you'll have in place, you can look at either one piece of information or you can look at all your data right from the very 10,000 foot level. And this is the channel management I was talking about before. So for the very first time, some of the people that are using our technology will be able to see their complete compliance rather than part of it. And that's a big step forward. I'm going to use this phrase quite a lot today. Isn't it beautiful? So here we go. This is the widget format that you'll see. You can see here I've got some of my notifications. These are things that are relevant to me. I have some immediate actions listed in the middle. I've got some consecutive failures listed in a graphical format. I've got a number of documents located down here which are associated with the asset for the first time. And then something at the top there, which is our Google type search capability. It's really, really powerful, and it's going to make life a lot easier. We've introduced what we call RAG tolerances. Red, amber and green. So now we can differentiate between the non-compliance that you're seeing. This has reduced the amount of noise that people see, and so they're better prioritise their work accordingly. And this is very much in line with our ethos of intelligent compliance, which is Zeta 2 is at the heart of. We've introduced computational results. So for the very first time, when you put a result into Zeta, it may add that to another result and get an answer. That's a big, big difference. And it's pretty impressive. Reduces human error, speeds up data input time. And we've massively improved scheduling. So we've introduced hourly checks, weekday or weekend checks, or all-week checks, for instance. Big, big improvement. Here you'll see the tolerances. This is our RAG system in place. Here you can see red, amber, green, or amber, red, green in this case, and the tolerances that have been set up which will initiate those sorts of responses. So some of the improvements and the more that we see in Zeta 2 include a much more intuitive use of the system. So a big leap forward has been the development of clear informatics, showing such things as repeated missed tests. Another leap forward has been the introduction of the industry standard widget. This is going to have huge repercussions for, I think, compliance. Let me tell you what that is about. We will be looking, you are able in Zeta 2 to look at your site, your building or your room and compare its performance in terms of compliance with everybody else in your industry sector. So is my building better than everyone else that looks after a hospital? Is my site better than everybody else that looks after a hospital? If you think about that, we will be a repository of all compliance data for a vast array of different building types. No one in the world has that information. No one. But we will. And this is the first time we've probably seen a compliance cloud community evolving. Okay? It's quite a big step for us, and it's quite a big step for the industry, in fact. And so what we're going to be able to do is look at KPIs where other people fell short, and we'll be able to identify trends, and we'll be able to tell our service providers that use us whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, and they'll be able to pass that information on to their clients. Indeed, their clients will be able to police them. Big, big step forward. This is going to massively change the world that we know of compliance now. Here we have another graphical illustration. This shows you the missed results, the schedule of tests actually in this case, over a period of time, and now we've actually got the graphics and the tabular format on the same page, which we before would have to separate those. Looking good, aren't they? Looking really good. Communication is really, really key for compliance. In fact, of all the incidences that I'm aware of where there's been a failure, it's communication that's been at the heart of it. Okay? So that was a real strong point in Zeta 1, a massive strong point of Zeta 1, and why so many of our customers and clients made use of our technology. And so we wanted to make that stronger and even better and continue to be the best at what we deliver. Our software engineers have really gone to town in this respect. And so we're able to ensure that communication is best and data is kept nice and tidy. So for instance, the provision of multiple user alerts. In Zeta 1 I can only alert one person. If they were on holiday for a week I'd be no better off than I was before. Now I can alert several people. I can communicate with several people. And I can watch those alerts. I can see what's going on. I can see if they've been dealt with and communicated to somebody else. Indeed, I can actually watch assets that I'm particularly concerned about. Wouldn't that be good if I ran a cooling tower, or if I ran a railway line? I could actually say, I want to keep an eye on that, because I think that might be troublesome at some point in the future. We've also pulled together databases, and so now, whereas before we would have this auditorium would be in a database for water, it would also be in a database for electrical regulations or air quality. Now, there's just one auditorium with multiple control schemes associated with it. So it allows you to look at the complete compliance of an area rather than looking at different areas of compliance and then looking at where those locations are. So a huge step forward. Zeta Mobile 2. You wouldn't expect us to launch a new product without looking at Zeta Mobile. And Zeta Mobile probably has been one of our best features over the last 5 years. Zeta Mobile is incredibly strong, incredibly reliable, and where many big players in our industry struggle to get mobile technology to work, we have done that year in, year out, month in, month out, day in, day out, and that's not gone unnoticed by our clients. So Zeta Mobile 2 is also pretty impressive, and we're sure it will have the same reliability as Zeta Mobile 1. Some of the more impressive features of it is that it's much more attuned to carrying out surveying. Zeta Mobile 1 was very much about delivering compliance on assets day in, day out, but not actually doing a one-off check of them. and Zeta Mobile 2 will allow us to do that. Multiple data entry and the ability to perform calculations on data that's been entered is also a huge step forward. So I can calculate the mean of 6 measurements in this room, and the mean is calculated for me. I don't have to do it on my calculator and enter it in. That means you're going to reduce human error, speed up input of data, etc. Data validating through input masking. So when you enter something in which doesn't look right, the software is going to tell you, hey, that doesn't look right. That water meter result is lower than it was last month. How's that possible? So we can validate data that goes in, and we can make sure that data is cleaner. We left the best till last. You can add photographs to your checks, and those photographs will be associated with the asset which you took. So that's a massive step forward, and one that really lends itself to a whole the number of areas of compliance which at the moment we fall short for. Wow, look at that. The big hand, it's a big tablet. But nevertheless, joking aside, it's really important for us to make use of the latest technology. And tablets are here, and they are here to stay. And so Zeta Mobile and Zeta 2 will run on tablets, and it looks pretty good. Zeta Intelligence. I've touched on Zeta Intelligence earlier today, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time on that now. It is part of our intelligent compliance offering. It's at the heart of it. It's the kernel that runs our business. What we want to strive as a business to do is not regurgitate regulations, but take people through the regulations, not tell them what to do, but work with them to work the best strategy forward. Most of our clients can read. Most of the regulations are written down. They wouldn't need us just to read those, but we want to steer people through it. And Zeta Intelligence is very important to us to deliver that objective. So in Zeta 2, every asset has a risk profile, every location has a risk profile, and every task or test has a risk profile. Pull these numbers together and you end up with a special number, and that special number is its risk number, and we can make use of that to prioritise assets when something is awry with them. So if we have an asset that's out of compliance, it's now going to be differentiated from the masses of assets that may be out of compliance but are generally okay or of a low risk. And that's unique to Zeta 2. It's unique to us as a business, and I think we should make a lot of noise about that. It's going to be a big step forward. We've also designed a snazzy little logo there for it, and you can see these cheeses that make up the risk profile. Looking good, guys. Pricing. We kept it simple. Nothing's changed over the previous pricing. It's the same model. We charge by the asset, and our charges remain competitive. People pay for what you protect. Paying for what you protect is a crucial part of our delivery. It's nice and simple, and I think it's very much in line with the cloud computing world. Collect, manage, share. You'll start to see that more and more on our documents and literature as a business, and Zeta 2 does exactly that. Okay? I'd just like the IT guys just to stand up in the room if they could. So Chris and Tom, Costa if he's kicking about, and Victoria, just stand up a minute. Anyone that's been involved in the IT department, and this, Keith, and come on Catherine, you've got to stand up. I think all of them deserve a bit of a round of applause for what they've been doing over the last 5 years and what they've created. So put your hands together, please. And I just wanted to publicly thank them for their hard work. And it hasn't finished yet, I know that. But their families do suffer, and they do suffer. But they love what they do. I know that for sure. Otherwise they wouldn't do it. So, let's go back to Simon Woodruff of Yo Sushi, and just look at what he said as we wrap up here. I wanted us to do something spectacularly good. I think we have. Thank you.